All right, welcome to Vertical Angles with Algebra Level 2. Now here we have an example 1. Let me go ahead and switch colors here. Given angle CEA, so from C to E to A is 30 degrees. And given angle CEB, well wait a second, angle CEB is going to be this one right here, from C to E to B is 2x. Now what we know here is that these two things, they lie on a straight line. And so we have to ask ourselves, hey, is that a vertical angle or is that a linear pair? Well, because it's a pair of angles that lie on a straight line, it's a linear pair. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what is the relationship between these two things? Well, when it's a linear pair, they are supplementary, meaning that they have to add up to 180. Now, if we want to get x by itself, we have to get rid of the 30 and the 2. So let's kind of take it back to our algebra. We know that to get rid of anything, we're always doing the opposite operation in the opposite order. This positive 30 is acting as our addition, and this 2x is acting as our multiplication. Oh, sorry, our multiplication. Okay? And so, scratch out that e. Now, if we're working from the bottom up, or if we're working backwards, we have to get rid of our addition first. So the opposite of plus 30 would be minus 30. And what we do to the left, we have to do to the right. Now y'all circle your zero pair. We can go ahead and drop our 2x is equal to 180 minus 30 is 150. And then how do we get rid of the 2? Well, how do we get rid of the multiplication? And of course, the opposite of multiplication is to divide. So I divide the left side and the right side by 2 to keep it balanced. And 150 divided by 2 is 75. Pause the video, finish taking your notes. Let's go ahead and move on to another example. Okay, I want to take a look at example 3 because it's not very clear, where the vertical angles are or where the intersecting lines are. So it says this, given angle CEA, so let's see here, once again, use red for this. We go from C to E to A. We'll go ahead and label that with our 12x. And angle AED is 60 degrees. So let's see here, use a different color. From angle A to E, we have this 60 degrees. Now notice that right here, even though we have these lines on the outside, like that line right there and that line right there, we can still put these two angles together and form a linear pair. So you can think of these lines on the outside as, hey, they're a little bit distracting, but they don't change how the math is solved. So we'll go ahead and set up our 12x and our 60. And remember, since they lie on a straight line, they must be supplementary, meaning they add up to 180. Okay, so how are we going to get rid of these operations? How are we going to get rid of the 12 and the 60? We'll go ahead and write PEMDAS. And remember, when two things are side by side, they're being multiplied. So the 12 and the x, that has our multiplication. And the 60 is being added, and so that's our addition. Well, when we're working backwards, the first thing we have to get rid of is our addition. And ask yourself this, what would get rid of a plus 60? Minus 60. And what we do to the left, we'll do to the right. And now we have 12x is equal to 180 minus 60, which is 120. And how do we get rid of the 12? How do we get rid of the multiplication? Well, we have to divide. So let's divide both sides by 12, and we see that x is equal to 10. All right, y'all. I hope this video helps you out. I'm going to go ahead and do one more example. I'm going to do example number 2 because the algebra is a little bit trickier. So if you want to watch that, continue on. Okay, here in example 2, this is just kind of a bonus problem. I'm going to give you the very first step to simplify this. So we have angle CEB, so there's angle CEB, and that's going to be 5x plus 4. And then we have angle BED, let's see, there's BED, and that's 61 degrees. Okay, so what do we know? Well, we know these two angles form a linear pair, aka they add up to 180, so we can write 5x plus 4 plus 61 is equal to 180. Now, I told you I'd just do the first step here because when we look on the left-hand side, we have to ask ourselves, can I simplify the left-hand side? Notice that the 4 is a constant, meaning it doesn't have an x, and the 61 is also a constant, it doesn't have an x. So when I go to simplify this, what I would write is 5x plus, and 4 plus 61, 4 plus 61 would be 65. Okay, so I put those two things together and make this a little bit easier. And from here, this looks like all the other problems that we've been solving. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch y'all in our next practice.